Loida, thank you for joining me here on Mind Your Business.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you have quite a storied background. You also do speaking, public speaking. You're a writer, an executive coach. Of course, you are the director of operations at Brands. Just tell us a little bit about your journey. Were you dreaming about this in high school? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, when I was in high school, I was really dreaming about doing international work, which I actually did for about 20 years and had an opportunity to work in Europe and throughout Southeast Asia. And then in 2000, came back to the United States and started focusing on helping small to mid-size and even large-size businesses become more successful within their teams and developing their leadership skills and their managerial skills. So, Yitzchok, one of the things that I find is that people want to do a good job. It's important to them to be professional. It's important to them to learn and grow. And very often people, especially if you're not from a big international company that has a big training department, where do they go to get that kind of training? Where do they go to really learn and grow and develop? Very often people learn through their mistakes, and that could be timely and costly. So if people can seek out experts in the area to help and guide them, then they save a lot of time in being able to grow and develop their career. So that's how I started.
Now, because the listenership of this show is primarily small to medium-sized businesses, I have a million questions. I mean, certainly a 1-hour show will not be enough time to get in everything, but we'll try. And the listeners are counting on me to do that. You touched on a fantastic point that that I would say certainly probably over 90% of small businesses are challenged with, and that is training, right? Let's just describe the scene. You have a small business, they have 5 employees, they're starting to scale. They don't have a full-time individual just there in terms of training, onboarding people. It's kind of, bring them in and just hope they have the talent, and then they'll just, roll with the punches. How important is training? That's my first question. My second question is, how can a small business even dream about implementing a training program?
2 great questions. So the first question is, I think training is very important because it ensures that the staff member, let's assume you hire a new staff member. That staff member comes to you and they're very excited to do a good job. They want to do a good job. They want to support your company and your clientele. Very often they don't know exactly how because they're new. They don't know your culture.
Right.
They don't know your clients. They don't know how you as a small business owner want to run the business. No 2 businesses run alike. They want to do their best. So what happens when you have even a simple training program to help people answer the telephone correctly? There's some very, very basic rules, and unfortunately very often we miss those because we just do what we've always done.
Right.
When your staff has an opportunity to be trained on some of those basics, I think your company comes across more professional. Your staff comes across feeling more professional and more confident when they're dealing with your clients and your customers, as it were.
So how would you recommend that a small or a medium-sized business begin the process of developing a training program? Like, we understand there's let's say the optimum way of doing it, but then that's probably not realistic for a small business because of the budget involved. What would be the plan B to approach training?
So plan A would be something like Dale Carnegie, for example, or organizations like that, which you mentioned earlier.
Right.
Plan B would be for someone in the organization to make a list of what are the critical things about their organization that touch the customer. So that's answering the telephone. That's your first line. If someone calls your company, they don't get you immediately. They get someone who answers the phone, somebody in the office, a receptionist maybe. So that professional level should come across from that moment. Most entrepreneurs want that person that calls in to feel good, to feel like welcome at home. So the customer service person is everybody. Every person that works in your company should consider themselves customer-centric, customer-focused. So if you sit down and you make a list of what are the touch points that are important to me as an entrepreneur running a small business, I would say answering the telephone is definitely one of them. anytime there is any sort of customer service issue in handling a customer, we all try our best very hard. Sometimes we don't make a customer happy, even though we're trying our best. So there's some rules around what does it take to make a customer happy? What does it take to keep a customer? It costs us a bundle of money to lose a customer and then have to go out and find a replacement for that customer. Yeah. So how do you teach your people to do that? So first make a list of what's important and then figure out, it's very simple. You can figure out the 3 or 4 things that have to be done in that job. So answer the telephone. That's simple. Everybody does it. Let's use that as an example, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
So when you answer the phone with a smile on your face. And actually smile, because that will come across. So if I'm answering the phone and I'm saying, good morning, 77 WABC radio, and I'm smiling, see, right? You start laughing right
That's
away.
Right. I picked it up.
Exactly. And I say, thank you so much for calling us. How may I help you today? And then that person feels like a friend, welcome in your home. And then they can tell you. Now, if they're upset, now we have to teach the person answering the phone, say, I'm so sorry. It sounds like you're very upset. Let me take a minute, and can you just explain? I want to take some notes. I want to make sure I send you to the right department, send you to the right person that can handle that, and then take detailed notes. So that means the person on the phone has to have pencil, has to have paper to be able to take the notes, and then to know enough about your organization, who's the best person to answer that call. And if they say, I'm sorry, Mr. Brands isn't here today. Let me take your name and number. I will ensure that he will call you tomorrow by 9 o'clock. Then they have to follow through with that.
Right.
Because to tell a customer something and not follow through is...
Right, it's also not.
Exactly. So those are some of the simple ways, and just using something like the telephone. Also, I think today the internet is very helpful to have to go and see what, Google it. What's some of the ways that I can answer the phone? What is the best practice? There's something called the telephone doctor, and you can actually buy some recordings and videos, very successful. We use them at Brands, very successful. And it's a reminder, it's a refresher when people answer the phone.
Such great advice, and I love the way you're saying it. It's you bring you down to earth. You're presenting it in such a practical way, but it's true, and that really leads me to. And again, I thank Brands for the opportunity to have you come to the studio and present. Brands, what's your role at Brands? Director of Operations, that's like a big title. But what exactly does that encompass in terms of your work on behalf of Brands?
Well, one of the things when I started working with Mr. Weiser, Heshi Weiser, the owner of the business, was I wanted to know what was important to him. And he said, first and foremost, my customers are my most important thing. I want to make sure they're taken care of. I want to make sure the staff is properly trained. Once that happens and that they're welcoming the customer into our business, I want to make sure that every single staff member understands what it takes to be a customer that's concerned about their payroll, about the problems around the issue. So they have to be experts in different areas of tax, of garnishments, of payroll law, of HR. And so then we started putting together a training program. Okay, what are the big topics that everyone needs to know, and what are the topics that we need to send to an expert? So there's some tax questions that frontline customer service specialists can answer, and there's some that you really need a CPA that's on their staff to answer. And so that's what I do. I work with them to be able to develop training programs that really help instill what are the processes that you need to do from the time a customer calls you, whether they request a report, whether they have a question about a new tax law, or whatever it is. Who do they go to, and how do they answer that call consistently, so that when you call, you're getting the same answer that Jonathan is getting, the same answer that Susanna is getting.
Consistent. To find out more information, brandspaycheck.com. That's the website to visit, brandspaycheck.com. Or you could reach them at 888-757-3020. I love the honor of interviewing C-level executives and sharing their great advice and perspective on Mind Your Business. I'd love to get your feedback.
Post it in the comments below and subscribe. You'll never miss an edition of Mind Your Business.